Gershon Baskin, thank you so much for joining us from Jerusalem. Gershon, you are one of the most experienced hostage negotiators in Israel. You are one of the few people who has dealt directly with Hamas in hostage negotiations. When you look at the current situation, what do you think the biggest obstacle is right now to securing the release of the more than 200 hostages who are still held in Gaza?
There are a lot of main obstacles. One is that we're in an acute active war with Hamas right now, where the primary objective of the State of Israel is to eliminate Hamas as a power which can govern the Gaza Strip and continue to threaten Israel. At the same time, Hamas is holding about 240 Israeli civilians, women, children, infants, elderly people, sick and wounded. We don't even know their condition. And there's no direct contact between the two sides, which means that we have to use third parties to negotiate, each having their own interest and stake in the whole situation on the ground. So there are a million obstacles. I mean, how do you fight a war against someone that you're aiming to destroy and at the same time negotiate with them on a humanitarian release of people that they're holding?
What is your sense of what Hamas wants?
The first thing they want right now is a ceasefire. And they believe that the longer they can prolong a ceasefire, the more international pressure will be put on Israel to end the war without completing the mission of eliminating Hamas's ability to govern. The second thing that they want, and Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas leader in Gaza, who was freed in the prisoner exchange in 2011 that I helped to negotiate, is someone who's dedicated to releasing all the Palestinian prisoners in Israel.
When you negotiated the release of Gilad Shalit in 2011, I think the Israeli government released more than 1,000 prisoners, including some very hardcore Hamas members, in exchange for one Israeli soldier. Talk to me a little bit about why that is and how that shapes what Israel is willing to do in a situation like this.
Yeah, there were 1,027 prisoners released, including more than 300 who had killed Israelis, including 4 people who killed my wife's cousin. So this is really personal, in fact. There's an ethos in Israel that we don't leave anyone behind. And that was something that was well known when Gilad Shalit was abducted in June of 2006. It took 5 years before public pressure on the Israeli government led Benjamin Netanyahu, who was then prime minister as well, to make the deal. This is an unprecedented situation. Most of the hostages are infants, 8, 9-month-old babies, senior citizens in their in their 80s, women, and this is unprecedented, where they're holding hostages. And obviously Israel is willing to pay a high price for their release, but not the price that Hamas wants.
What is the key to establishing a rapport with the people on the other side of the table when you have negotiations like this?
Yeah, the main thing that worked in the past was time. There was time to develop a relationship primarily between myself and my interlocutor, who was Ghazi Hamad, who turns to be one of the people he's the spokesperson of this war for Hamas, and he crossed that line between humanity and what's beyond humanity in some of the statements that he's made since being the spokesperson for this war. But Ghazi and I had known each other for years. In fact, we've known each other for 17 years. We've spoken more than 1,000 times. We met face-to-face 4 times. We've carried on discussions through wartime and through peacetime, or not peacetime, through calm periods. We've talked about life and family and friends and what our purpose is on this planet. But in the end, it was the trust that developed between us that enabled us to expose all of our cards and get away from the traditional Middle East zero-sum game bazaar negotiations to a more of a sharing type of negotiation where both sides can get most of what they want or most of what they can give.
Gershon Baskin joining us from Jerusalem. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.